Welcome to episode 13 of CrimsonSplat Sucks at Empyrion, Reforged Eden 2. Okay, we're going to start with 4 topics today, the last of which is going to be the base tour that I've been promising for a couple of episodes now. For the first, however, we're going to talk about streaming. As I began the first episode, I didn't know much about Shotcut, the editor that I'm using. And as I learned more and more, I started doing more and more. But I kind of lost track of the whole point of what I was doing, which was kind of explaining what it was like to play Reforged Eden, as well as, try to be a little entertaining about it. Well, I got too much off into the entertaining, I think, and less concentration on, what the gameplay is like. So I'm going to fix that in the next few episodes, and there's going to be less of the cutesy screen cuts from other soundtracks and so on, and more of discussion of what the hell is going on within the game. There'll still be some, but I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it or trying to find music tracks to overlay. Now, having said that, our second topic is going to be forking the game. I've had to go back to adding a whole bunch of save games. Cross our fingers, folks. The reason being, things have not gone very well in some regards. And that's going to lead us into our third subject, but we'll hold off of that for the moment. The main issue has been that I've come to a couple of bad ends in the play. One of them was not so bad, it was just suboptimal. I built a new space vehicle, small vehicle, which didn't work out well. It was one that I downloaded off of the workshop, and apparently since RE2 has made a lot of changes in the balance, it's become normal for people to put these designs up in the workshop that have terrible efficiency. They don't have enough command or CPU power for all the different items that they've got. And additionally, a lot of the older designs from RE1, forget the original vanilla game, just won't cut it anymore. They require too much CPU, and you can't put much in the way of weapons on them. That has really been a problem. I ended up with 2 different designs that just did not work. And so, having wasted all those resources on building them, I finally decided, okay, I'm going to back up to the one save game I did have, which is from before episode 12, I believe, and redo everything from that point. So I had to go back and do the mission to help out the Polaris trade vessel that was under attack from the Xerax, and I also spent a lot of time resource gathering. In fact, I even went to the point of going to other planets and resource gathering there. Up until the last day or so, this did find me only additional cobalt and a fair bit of titanium. When I explored into an asteroid belt searching for Eristrium and Zasconium, I instead found a group of pirates which promptly blew me out of space since I was in nothing but a lightweight mining craft. Cue up another game fork. That also cost me several hours of play. That leads us to the third subject. As far as I'm concerned, the shine is really off of Reforged Eden 2. I'm really kind of frustrated with how much more difficult it has made the game. There are points at which you just don't have the resources that you need to accomplish your goal. Now, whether or not this is due to the fact that CrimsonSplat sucks at Empyrion or not, I can't necessarily tell, but if it's too difficult for me, then it may also be too difficult for someone else. Specifically, um, I've reached the point in my play, although not in the videos that I've produced, where I have found a moon base with Xerax, and I need to take that base out. I need to actually knock out some of the external defenses, infiltrate the base, and then take out all of the people in it. Now, based on the missions that I've run thus far, I do not have any confidence that the level of challenge has been reduced commensurate with the reduction in resources to meet those challenges. The POIs have been significantly reduced, and because they've been reduced, you don't have the resources from those POIs. There used to be at least 2 legacy POIs that you could get into that yielded decent resources, and several other points of interest that weren't heavily defended but constituted jump and maneuver type challenges. Additionally, there were extensive ruins with underground levels which you could explore, and those were quite rewarding, although also fairly challenging. Those are all gone. Well, all that is gone now. Zascosium, forget it. Erestrium, forget it. Those are 2 of the top tier materials that you'll need for the mid game. Titanium is almost unobtainable without leaving the planet. Certain early POIs have been locked where it's not possible to take them apart for their resources. The Heidelberg is a major example of this. I can deal with the inability to take the Heidelberg apart, but there are 3 particular items that I want to point out that are really problematic. Number 1 is the removal of those POIs that included late beginner, early mid-game resources, such as cobalt and titanium. This makes it difficult to get into some of the items that you need to build your base up and resist the constant attacks. Also, it makes it difficult to build the items you need to acquire more resources. The second is the almost complete elimination of gold from the game. While a recent change note said that gold had been increased by 33.3%, the truth is it's been almost completely eliminated from the starter planet. Thus far, I have found only 3 gold bars, which is not even enough to make a gold coin. It is certainly not enough to make the higher tier CPUs that are necessary for creating armed ships. I suspect this has a great deal to do with the proliferation of under-commanded, under-CPU'd ships in the workshop. So here's a listing of most of the ores in the game, from most common at the top to least common at the bottom. Basic ores are found on the starter planets. Common ores can be found in space around the planets or on nearby moons, except for the ice, which requires an ice planet. Uncommon can be found on various planets, moons, and asteroids in the starter system, with exceptions. No tungsten or deuterium, for instance. The rare elements, the only one I have found is Sathium, and that took quite a bit of hunting at some risk in the asteroid belts. Honestly, I did not expect to find mineable sources of either in the home system, but the lack of loot has really put a cramp in progression. Now, these constant base attacks are beginning to get a little wearying. In fact, many times I will come down and land near my base and not actually go in. I'll just use the remote connection to unload all my gear and pick up new materials. Also order things to be made. But I can't harvest the food plots and make more food. Plus, it's a little hard to deal with all the different things that I need to be in the base to deal with, like healing myself and treating any diseases or injuries that I may have picked up along the way. Well, while exploring the orbitals of another planet, I found a semi-destroyed base and started rebuilding it. I've put a lot of resources into it, which have kind of distracted from the expansion of this base, but I plan to move over to it because it doesn't get attacked, being out in the middle of space. Also, it's got a huge advantage. The moment I enter the area of the planet, I can see exactly where it is. When entering the orbit of a Kua from another system or another planet, I can't. I have to zoom into the planet, try to determine from orbit the physical features, geographic features of the area that my base is in, and land there or enter the playfield there. Because the space around the planet and the planet itself are separate playfields, separate zones, and you have to transition from one to the other. Well, the marker to show where my base is does not show up when I'm in the orbital playfield. I have to, as I said, look at the planet and hope I got it right. Usually I don't. And that's frustrating because then I have to deal with trying to get around the planet, sometimes from the completely opposite side. This takes a lot more fuel and time, but to be fair to RE2, that is a vanilla game problem. It is baked into the game. Also baked into the game is that progression of the plot can't be properly gated through the missions. What does this mean? Well, look at this, for instance. Hey, Ida, why don't I just go to Alpha 1 and meet up with the UCH in Discovery? Wouldn't that be a better idea than all this running around getting into fights? All the modders can really do is keep the missions that I would get in that particular location turned off until I go through all the hoops of the various missions, the prequel missions as they're called, but in order to get there and be able to access more missions from the UCH, which I don't know that they have that many, although one of the messages, update messages, says that the captains of the various exploration ships have additional missions now. In RE1, they didn't have a whole lot. So we'll see how that works when we get there. And finally, as you can see here, I'm walking around the base showing off a few things. The third SV over in the corner is partly disassembled. That is the Baba Yaga that I referenced in an earlier video. And the reason I disabled it and took parts of it apart is that the other SV in the center is actually a much better version of what I was trying to accomplish. It is, however, extremely lightweight. I up-gunned, up-armored, and up-engined it slightly, but it's still a glass pop gun. It doesn't even qualify as a cannon. Okay, folks, that is all for now. I'm going to call it here. Sorry, no outro music this time. I haven't picked a new artist to feature. And I'll be back with more fun and games later.